o'clock.
I'm not even doing anymore because I'm retired. I did 7 o'clock.
Am I in your way?
No.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. I think we have a quorum, there's 4 members present. Did everybody get copies of the minutes? Do we have an approval or a motion to approve?
I'll motion that we approve the minutes from February? What is it? March.
26th.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Treasurer's report?
As of April 30th, we have a working account of $222,519.62. And on reserves, we have $107,610.76 for a total of $330,130.38. Like I have said before, on our accounting sheets, certain things ebb and flow, so it looks like, you know, we have like 500,000 something, but in all said and done, it's really the $330,000. Also, I'd like to mention the HOA fees that we are owed at the present time are $165,677.95. That's a lot of money.
It is.
And James and the association are actively trying to get that back, and they will go into that in just a minute with Don.
Any comments, additions on the treasurer's report?
I have a question. Our reserves, wasn't that to pay out the painting of the Levitt and Sons units?
That's already
What
been,
do you mean? That's all over and done
It's-
with.
Right, so how come we're still $7,000 less than last month? What other bills came up that was 7,000?
Where are you getting that from?
On 2/19, when we had the meeting, the reserves were reported at 114,876.14, and now they're 107,610.76.
Which account, you know, from the
Just the
actual?
reserves. I mean, it went up in March, which was 96,289. So is that the difference due to the painting?
Well, some of it had to do with, if you go over a certain amount, you have to, in order to be FDIC insured, we separated accounts.
Okay.
We
I
got a new
remember that.
account, so we were insured.
Got it.
So we have 2 reserve accounts now.
any other questions? I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
And there's a motion?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. At the last meeting, there were questions about receivables and what we were doing about them and what our policies were. I want to take a minute and talk to you about that. Basically, we've been able to take, this month, we've been able to take the receivables down from just over 200,000 to 165,000. So we've made some good strides forward in trying to get money back in on the receivable side. Our policy on someone who is behind in rent is that if they don't pay within 20 days of the due date, we send out a notice. On the 34th day that they're late, we send out a statement on the 20th day. On the 34th day, we send out a late notice. On the 60th day, we send out a FedEx notice that the account is going to the attorney. And if nothing happens, when do you finally turn it over to the attorney, James?
After 60 days, we give them 10 days. And actually, last time we give them a 60-day notice, 60-day FedEx notices to 6 people. we are able to collect about $3,000 from people behind of the dues. So, and then if by the time, if the 60 days, if they don't send us any payment, we turn it over to the attorney and they send a file and then send them a notice. Next thing they do is to file a lien against that unit. And after filing a lien, we have a right to foreclose a unit. And when you're doing it, sometimes some owners wanting to negotiate the dollar amount, some people, they just walk away.
We currently have 17 owners that owe us over $1,000. There are an additional 3 that owe us, that are 3 months late. The high individual owes us $21,663. It goes back to probably almost the beginning of time. There are seven owners that owe us a total of $120,000. That's 120 out of the 165,000 that we're owed. The chances of us getting that money is probably pretty slim, but we're going to continue to pursue it. The reason I say it's pretty slim is once the property goes into bank foreclosure, we are only entitled to 12 months assessments or 1% of the mortgage. And I think in most cases, we'll probably end up with 1% of the mortgage, which is going to be significantly less than what they owe. But we're pursuing them, trying to get the money in. We're doing everything we can. We've aggressively pursued the foreclosure route. We have a number of people, or a number of units that we're in the process of trying to get foreclosures on. And we're not doing it to try and rent the property. We're doing it to try and force some action. A lot of these units have just been sitting out there. They've been empty. The banks haven't been doing anything, so we're trying to force a foreclosure in hopes that the bank will finally step in and try and do something to save their money.
I was gonna ask that, so a lot of these high-paying properties are actually empty at the present time?
I physically have not been around to see which ones are
Okay,
occupied and
I'll
which ones are not.
I'll
But
drive around.
I think the majority of them are probably, or not the majority, but a lot of them are probably vacant. Any questions on the past due accounts?
I have a question for you. Have you thought about putting these accounts in a collection agency as opposed to turning them to the attorney? And I only ask you that for a reason. I know that I hear a lot of times that you all say that you have the attorney to file liens. Anybody, you, me, the neighbors, anybody can file a lien. All you have to do is $10, you go to the courthouse, you file a lien, you're done. If you put accounts in a collection agency and you don't pay that collection agency unless that money is collected, in the interim, if those people that owe money do not pay, it goes on their credit report and it harms their credit for 7 years. So sending a letter to an attorney for somebody that doesn't pay anything anyway doesn't really, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, have you contemplated going down that road about sending accounts to a collection
Well,
agency?
Let me give you some input on where we are with the attorneys and what it's costing us and that kind of thing.
Okay.
With the old attorney, it didn't cost us anything.
Oh, really?
Right. And what happened with the old attorney was that he would accrue the late, well, let's talk a little bit about, we've got late charges,
Mm-hmm.
we've got interest,
Right.
and we've got attorney's fees, okay? We or the attorney accrue interest and late fees, and the attorney accrues the attorney's fees.
Mm-hmm.
The old attorney would not charge us anything until there was a settlement on the account. Either he collected from the owner,
Mm-hmm.
or it went in bankruptcy and we got paid off somehow. Where we got paid off somehow, we would have to pay for the attorney's fees out of what we got. If the attorney settled it, the attorney would collect the fees along with everything else, and we wouldn't have to pay the attorney anything. The owner was paying the attorney,
Right.
okay? With the new attorney, it's slightly different. With the new attorney, we are being charged on a per occurrence basis for filing of a lien, for filing of a foreclosure notice.
That's not good.
Well, We wanted a local attorney, folks.
No, well, you need, and I know that that's a big issue, and it's a concern of mine as well, and you do need a local attorney for that very reason. If you file with all these problems that we have, you need a local attorney.
Now, the only difference though with the new attorney and the old attorney is we're gonna upfront the attorney's fees. We're still gonna collect them back from the owner.
Yeah, maybe,
Well,
maybe.
it's,
We'll see.
we have the same opportunity with either attorney. Because if it goes to bankruptcy, even with the old attorney, we were still responsible for the attorney's fees.
Right.
You know, somebody's gonna be responsible for the attorney's fees. The first person we're trying to put them on is the owner.
I guess what I'm saying to you is that you can file a lien all day long, and that's not gonna get you your money. You can file a lien, and until that person decides to sell their home, you're not gonna get your money. If you put this.
Until we take them to court for foreclosure. We can force foreclosure.
Okay, well, that's true. And how long of a process is that?
That takes forever.
Okay, well, that's why I'm making a suggestion to you. And I know this because I used to do this like for many, many, many years. And you put it in collections, and you don't pay the collection agency unless they recoup your monies. And like I said, in the interim, even if you do choose to sue them or whatever you choose to do, that goes on their credit report. And if they try to get credit of any kind, or a job, or any kind of anything, it'll show up there, and it's detrimental to their credit.
James, would
Is
you
it
check- would you
legally
check with the
possible
att-
to do collection and lien at the same time?
Absolutely, absolutely.
From, James, would you check with the attorney and see whether
And I can
there is
certainly-
anything that goes on the credit report as a result of what they're doing?
Attorneys cannot force place anything on someone's credit report because they have to be a credit reporting agency to do that.
Okay.
And I can certainly, I have a very good friend of mine in this town, she's very reputable business, it's been in business for 30 years, and she does exactly that. And she has an attorney on retainer in the whole 9 yards. So it's just something to think about, other than, attorney, and nowadays, because we have a bad economy, and I'm sure everybody can probably appreciate that, they get bills in the mail, and they throw them in the trash, and they get a letter from an attorney, and they're like, yeah, whatever. People don't care. Credit, however, it's 7 years, and it's not a good thing.
Okay,
Just
we'll
a
look into it.
suggestion.
Thank you.
It's a good one.
Any other comments? I want to move on and talk about a resignation from the board. Roberto Diaz has resigned as president of the Homeowners Association. I personally would like to thank him for all the efforts he put in, all the hours he put in, and all the accomplishments that he made while he was president. He's done it primarily because of job requirements. His job has taken a lot of time, and he wants to have a little bit more time with his family. When he was off the job, he was spending a lot of time with the Homeowners Association. So if any of you get a chance to see him, thank him for his service, and I know we, members of the board, really appreciate the fact that he served. With that, we have an opening on the board. We would solicit individuals who would like to become members of the board. We're going to change the process a little bit this time, however, so that we don't get into the problems that we ran into the last time. We're going to post this form on the website, and I've got copies of it if anybody wants it. It's just a form that says notice of intent to be a candidate for the Homeowners Association Board. We're going to require that this be filled out, and attached to it, we need an information sheet with some background on each of the individuals. We'd like to, if possible, have people indicate a desire to be on the board by June 12th. We'd like to fill the position at the next meeting, which will probably be the 24th or 25th of June. If there's anybody interested, I've got extra sheets right here. I'll leave them on a table if anybody wants to take one. And what the process is to get the information back to James, who will get it to the rest of the board members, and we'll make a decision based on the input we get as to who we want to replace Roberto. Any other comments on Roberto's resignation and how we're going to fill the position?
As one member resigns, do we renegotiate the titles of who's remaining on the board?
The time is still the same, because yours is 1 year, right?
Right.
So you stay as the 1 year.
I-
And
I-
we're-
But the
that's not what
title.
she's, that's not what
Title is not. entitled.
What I'd like to do, Elizabeth, is I'd like to wait until we get a fifth member,
Okay,
and then we'll reassign responsibilities
okay,
based on having a fifth member. It's sort of silly to reassign things now, and then
right,
a month from now, have somebody come on who wants to be president, or wants to be treasurer, or whatever,
right,
okay?
okay.
So if someone decides to be on, shows interest in being on the board, it's not necessarily to fill the president's
No,
spot.
it's to
just be on the
fill,
board
it's to
and
fill an open
fill an
position
open
that's on the
position.
board.
And then you guys
Then
decide.
we would all get together and decide which positions are, who's gonna get which positions. Any other comments, questions?
Is that not a general election then like before, or
No,
it's an
in,
appointment?
in the interim, between annual meetings, the board has the right to appoint.
Gotcha.
Managers report?
Okay, the first one is storm drain. We had some issue with the water flooding issues, I think last year or year before. We communicated with the D.R. Horton, they all removed you call it a storm drain net or barriers they used to put it on, that has been all removed. Richard Moses drove around the neighborhood about a couple of weeks ago and he confirmed that everything has been removed. So, but if you still see anything somehow, just to let us know, we can always, make sure we can remove that. It's supposed to be all gone by now.
Has anybody noticed whether it's had any impact? Have we had any severe?
Yours was an
When I see your-
issue. Did you have some netting there under your drain? Did you ever notice that?
No, the one that's back in the,
In the back,
In the
back
back.
of your house?
no, there was no netting. The only netting that there had been left over was back by the compactor up at that top end, and that's all gone.
Because your
This-
mom said yours was an issue.
Right, but that's usually getting clogged from grass and debris from,
Okay.
Just the lawn mowing and that? kind of-
yeah.
That has been done. Second one is a front gate damage of recover. It's $851 that was damaged by hurricane shutter. We were able to collect the money. Took us 3 months.
3 months.
3 months and about 20 phone calls and 5 emails and 6 emails.
And I
but-
think he ended up being self-insured since the check was written out of a personal
I know,
account.
it's
Yeah,
a personal
yeah,
account, yeah.
they're going through the insurance company and then they try to decide whether it's going to be their car insurance or company insurance. Took them almost 3 months to figure that out and finally they cut the check by himself, so we were able to collect that money, so,
Thank you. Anything else?
that's it. Discuss others later on.
Architectural committee report? I don't think we have anybody from the architectural committee. We again had 2 resignations from the architectural committee, Kathy Mace and Mananjoni. Majoni. Again, I'd like to thank the 2 of them for serving on the architectural committee. Kathy especially put in hours and hours and hours trying to make this thing work. We've got a serious hole here. We have people who want to put up dish antennas and that kind of thing, and we've got nobody to look after it.
I think now that our whole area is residentialized, it's gonna come to a close, so any improvements, are coming to a close, so we offer anyone that would like to give their time to approve and be on the committee, to do so, because, we are finalized and things are, putting up a dish, doing a lanai, doing a screen patio, that's all coming probably to fruition. So if anyone would like to volunteer for that architectural committee, we'd appreciate it.
And I would, I think, if I was here year-round, I think something I'd be interested in, because you see where they've extended the patios, the brickwork. One will be here, and the next store will be out here, and it really should be uniform.
We do have some guidelines that are on the books now, and we're improving them. I mean, nothing's gonna go beyond extreme.
Right, but I was just saying,
But I
if
would say
if you're
someone
looking
that
down-
lives here year-round would be
yeah,
best
if
for
you're looking
that
down
kind of thing.
a line of homes, it's nice to see that everybody's, comes out the same, you know, I know this, and,
Well, if I wanted to go to the limits and my next door neighbor didn't wanna go to the limits, that's okay.
yeah. Question, I've got a question, well, kind of pertaining to that. What about on, the Horton that don't have the hurricane glass? What, is anybody asked to have like, accordion shutters or,
They all have,
We
they
have
all
them.
have hurricane
Panels.
panels.
we got the.
But we have no guidelines as far as shutters go.
Yeah, we've got the panels, but like with myself being up north, if there's gonna be a hurricane, and being in 2-story homes, it gets to be expensive when some people, I know when Kevin was here, he wanted, I don't know, like $400 or something to, $450 maybe, to put them up and take them down.
200.
You know, put them up and take them down, and I could put accordion shutters on the upstairs cheaper than that. You know, that way I could, well, I don't know, how do you feel about people closing them? At least like the upstairs ones. I mean, downstairs, you can have almost anybody come and put them up and they don't charge that much. It's the second story that seems to be causing me trouble trying to find somebody to do it.
And honestly, I agree. Okay? My husband and I are senior citizens. If he has to get up there to put up the store, and I live at Casa del Lago, okay? And they allowed for us to have either accordion or the one side to side, okay? I had the electric ones because there were some windows I couldn't get to, okay? But I really would like that, because the older you get, the harder it is to go up and down the stairs, and my husband has a bad knee, okay? And if he falls, there's a problem. I have a heart condition, I had a stroke a year and a half ago, and there's no way I'm gonna go up that ladder. So I really think that we should be allowed to do that.
Now, this is why we need people on an architectural committee. We need people to come back to us with recommendations on what we should be doing with shutters.
Well, that's what I did.
I also think that you bought what you bought. You knew you were gonna have,
No,
To put
because
stuff
when I
out.
went to Casa del Lago, okay, all right, they said, well, you really, you know, then afterwards, it was put on because the majority of the people that lived there decided, you know what, we want the convenience of not having to get up and downstairs, particularly the houses that were built
Kept
later
some.
on.
Yeah, the statement you just made about we knew where we were buying, that's a lot of, that's bull. Yeah, we knew it. I knew it.
Let's not get an argument.
No, I know, but I knew when I bought
Is
the
there
house.
anybody
No,
who-
I'm just following up on it, and I'm going to. I knew when I bought the house that I didn't have hurricane windows.
right.
But at that point, nobody knew if you could put them up or not. But yet, you go around to, like she said, some of these other places that are a lot higher in than we are, and they allow it, so you just assume that maybe,
They have to,
yeah.
you have to. But you can set standards. You can
Well, I
say,
was
you can
told
tell
that-
them
I
what
was
type of
told by an
shutter, what
attorney
color the
that-
Let's
shutter.
have one person talking at a time, please.
I was told by an attorney that you have to allow that, because people that can't get up and, you know, like my back window, I'd have to climb on the roof to do it.
I don't think any of us are disagreeing with what you're saying. I think the point we're making is we need some people from the community who will
Right, I
take,
agree
who
with
will
that.
take
I
the time
understand.
to come back to us with recommendations on what we ought to be doing.
I'll do that.
All right? Is there anybody else who'd be on the committee with you?
I'll do it.
Me, and we'll do it.
Okay, can you get names?
Yeah, I need names for the record, please.
Maria Bernardini.
D. Bernardini?
Bernardini, like a Saint Bernard with Eni at the end.
Okay.
Juan Suarez, Suarez.
Okay.
Joe Ambergy.
I have this.
Nobody knows.
Are you guys willing to serve on an architectural committee? And let me preface it with a comment. we're in a situation right now where people can legally put dishes in their front yards.
That's not cool.
Ooh, that's ugly.
That's-
I wouldn't let that be no-no.
That's what it is. folks.
I know.
He says,
And we need people who would be willing to, we have a proposal on satellite dishes that's coming up next. But we're gonna need people who are gonna be willing to serve on a committee to look at how people are complying with what the rules are that we're about ready to set up. We don't have anybody right now. Are you?
Well, isn't the architectural
Are
committee
you, are the
part of
three of
that?
you, are the three of you willing to serve on that as well?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sure. I served in combat. How bad could it be?
You wanna get people mad at you, that's how bad it can be.
Hey, be quiet, I'm on the finance committee, so.
They are the new architectural committee.
and,
Didn't die in Iraq.
Can I get you guys' name for your leave?
Seven
Yeah,
dishes.
sure.
Address.
It's all in one.
Amber.
No.
In relation to Barbara?
Barbara Amber, probably. We're all related.
Can you give us your email address before you?
Yeah, sure.
So if, every time I got some ARC request, I send it to you, and you guys have to either come back to me. The way it is done is you have to give it to me, give it to us, whether yes or no, in 30 days. And if you don't get approval in 30 days, that automatically is approved.
No, it's gonna change.
So we
It's
just-
going down to 20 days.
Sorry, what is it? If it doesn't get approval within 20 or 30 days, then it's automatically
It's
approved?
automatically.
Automatically is approved.
Just regular ARC. I'm not talking about the satellite dish, just in
Anything
general.
in general, right?
Now,
Why did
Because
they change to 20? Is that a,
Satellite dish is
Statute.
different.
Hearts
this is
of
for
it.
satellite dishes.
Yeah.
30 days for everything but satellite dishes.
okay.
Is there gonna be a member of the board that's going to be willing to step in, since we only meet at best once a month? We're never gonna be able to meet a 20-day deadline for dishes, for approval of dishes. Is there a board member that's here regularly that would be willing to sign off on approved architectural committee dish requests?
Can one person do that?
Yes, if we say so.
Right now, yeah, very good.
Would you be willing to do it, Elizabeth, or
Yeah,
John?
I'll do art, yeah.
Okay, so Elizabeth would be our approver of dish requests.
And
Okay, architectural requests.
Mhm.
And it can be done between meetings so that we don't get into, this automatic approval thing without having something approved. Is that okay?
Then I'll send that, every time I get something, I'll send that to all four of you, and you guys you will have to pretty much check your email daily basis, just make sure you get some response.
Okay. We have a proposal for, I've got 4 extra copies of what we're going to be talking about, I think. We got another copy someplace?
I made an extra copy that you may not.
I got it. This is close enough. This is close enough. Anybody else need some?
I'm sure. I'll take one, thank you.
Yeah,
Still change, I saw.
Basically, what we have here is a proposal to regulate satellite dishes, which we don't have any rules for today. Prior to this, it was a verbal guidelines that were being used by the architectural committee. Basically, what this does is it says it basically outlines what we've been doing in the past. And it says that, we prefer to have satellite dishes located in the backyards on posts. But with this FCC regulation, if units cannot get reception, and that would be people that are in the buildings on the far side of Cherry Brook. I think on either side here, and probably on the north side of the property, okay? Those people who have yards where you can't see to the southwest, because that's where the satellites are, if they really push hard, they have the right to at least ask us if they can put satellite dishes in their front yard.
That's a nice one. That really.
Very bad, very bad.
Trailer
Well,
park.
if you read the,
Number 8.
Trailer
if you read what we have here, and the ones that have, some of you have one that has a handwritten correction where it says must on the first page. You don't have what I've added on the second page in paragraph B. And then basically paragraph B talks about what the homeowner has to do in terms of providing us, the board and the architectural committee, input on their plan for putting things in the front yard. And I've expanded that to say, the owner shall also provide alternate plans for mounting a dish on the building rear or side wall. Roof mounting of permitted satellite dishes is not permitted in any instance. That's a bracket. The ABC will then select the plan that provides the owner with a quality signal while preserving the visual appearance of the community. So basically what we're saying here is, hey, if you can't get a good signal from a dish on the ground, we'll let you put it on the building. But that is the only time we'll let you put it on the building,
Put them back.
in back.
I would think if you can't get, I would think you would get, whether it's that east side or the north side,
The north side,
pole.
the north side
I'm
still may have trouble.
a pole would work, how would it work better on your house when it's
Because you
more
gotta get up,
limited?
you gotta get up over the roof, Elizabeth. The
Oh,
problem,
so not on that perimeter wall? So
no,
something up high?
it's on the wall of the building itself.
Okay,
Next to your window.
yeah,
Like, it's gonna have to come out under the eaves
yeah.
and come around and give them a visual line to the southwest.
Based on the law, though, it says basically we can't deny it as long as there's not reasonable cost incurred, right? So we could require landscaping or something around it if it was in the front, as long as it's
Yeah,
not
that
unreasonable cost.
paragraph B does require a plan for landscaping to hide.
Right, so, I mean, your landscaping is not gonna cover your signals, so we could definitely require some type of landscaping around it if that is the only
The
requirement.
good news, as much as we don't like the oak trees in front, the good news is those oak trees may make it a little difficult to get some signals from some of these people.
You better stay with just a regular cable.
Yeah.
Now, number 4 is saying that they can't put it on a neighbor's property.
Yep, good for one. Well, the only,
It says you can't.
Right.
I'm not saying,
Owned by the
Not
owner.
owned.
Not owned.
James wasn't a lawyer.
Not owned by the owner.
this is the one.
So
This
you're running
is
on this
the one.
well, this is a draft recommendation. So if we wanted to change anything,
More detail on
This is it.
this.
so if you wanted to change anything from here, we have to make a change and give it to him so he can make another final.
We don't have to
Our
decide,
committee
we don't have
can
to decide on
decide
this
on
today.
Our committee can decide on that.
We could do that if you want.
I have a question on number 6.
Yep.
It says, transmitting antennas. Why would a person want to have a transmitting antenna, especially like some kind of commercial broadcaster? I'm guessing my assumption that's going from your house up into space versus receiving the TV signal.
That's a good question.
And it's usually like a commercial interest. to do
Yeah, it should
something
be,
like that.
they should be receiving antennas only, shouldn't they?
Mhm.
really not digging the RF radiation possibility
Radiation took him to superhero.
That's what happens when you turn
You know
things
what,
over to a lawyer.
So,
You get the CYA.
I mean,
I'm a Russian spy though, and I need my transfer.
the guys at Transtar.
Joe, Joe, do you guys want to take a look at this? and see
I
what
got
you-
one. I
You
got
want to
this.
see what you think of it and come back to us at the next meeting?
Yeah, we will.
Okay?
You want?
Okay, we'll do it.
And,
Told you we're gonna make enemies.
hey, if you got any questions, you're free to contact the lawyer. You can either do it through James. If you didn't want to contact the lawyer, let's do it through James. But once you guys come up with a recommendation, why don't you give it to James and let him bounce it off the lawyer? This draft, with the exception of the must on the first page and the sentence I added on, or the two sentences that I added on the second page are in fact the lawyer's input. Okay? So you guys will come back to us at the next meeting? Sounds good.
So in the meantime, if somebody wanted to put a satellite in their front yard, they could, until this gets approved?
In the meantime, I would work on what's said in that draft, if I was part of the committee.
Yeah, we'll focus more on there.
Those are guidelines for now. And if somebody wants to put it in front, let's use those as our guidelines and on approval or disapproval.
We've had people submitting their, their dish approvals up until now. So we've been able to process them up until now without any real
delays, yeah.
guidelines, yeah. They've been approved, but nothing's been asked for to put in the front of a house yet.
We haven't had a whole lot, but it's case
Yeah.
by case, and we only got a few cases that we had one case we had issue, but that's all.
Just a point so everybody is on the same page. It cost us a lot to get out of the Comcast contract. It cost us almost $40,000. Okay, it wasn't that we bought our way out, but what happened was, we were not paying them for people who weren't paying us. So to get out of the contract, we had to pay them off. For what, I don't know, I don't see us going, personal opinion, I don't see us going back to a total contract with Comcast for the subdivision. We got too many people that are already into antennas and everything else. I think we're gonna have to live with what we got. Landscape Committee. James, you wanna handle the two proposals we've got from the Landscaping Committee?
Right now, we just, only thing that we got approval from the landscaping committee is the front entrance replacement, which you already got. I already gave you the proposal to you. So it's about $22,184. Main problem is that they do have a bougainvillea which is dying because they're not really good at shaded area. They tried to replace with this, it's called a dwarf oleanders. It looks pink, but it looks like red, but it's actually a pink color. It's a printer issue. So this is what they're gonna put in. They're gonna put about 54 of them in the front. So they make a nice bushes.
In the entryway by the gate?
Right at the
Yes.
entrance, yes. And we also have 48 of Threalis, I think it's this yellow flowers. They already had it before, but a number of them has been dead because it's just the aging of the plants. So they're just gonna replace almost 48 of them. That's the main cost, and rest of them are just replacement. That's about $2,184. That has been approved by both Bob Johnson, Robert Johnson, as well as Barry Smith. They both approved the, request you guys to approve this one so we can start working on it during the rainy season.
Can I have a motion to approve or to accept the proposal?
Make a motion to accept the proposal.
I'll accept it.
All those in favor?
That's the only one that I got.
Motion carried. All right, yeah, it's not, it's just an update on the other one.
Yeah, the other one is just regular, just updated, but this is just the main cost that we have to find out.
What I wanted you to talk about was the replacement project that was where they, we already approved trees and that kind of thing?
I haven't heard anything from Barry Smith or other landscaping
There
committee.
you did it, right? There
It's
you
a-
did all that.
All right, the other thing I wanted James to talk about was, we approved a bunch of trees and shrubs and that kind of thing at the last
This
meeting.
last meeting.
And I just wanted to see where it was.
Oh, I'm sorry, that has been, they got the plant, coming in, I think that's either done or they're doing it this week, so, it's gonna be, you'll see the bill coming out very soon, but that has been pretty much, they have some issue with getting all the plants ready. They just got delivered from the different cities, they have to bring it from different cities because it's large quantity. So that's about $3,000 that was approved last month, and they're just waiting for those.
So it should be done this month?
Yeah, well, it should be
Within the
done
next week or
this week
something?
or next week, yeah.
Okay, good.
3,034.
Yeah, I thought it's gonna be done this week, so I'm waiting for that to be done this week.
Okay. Do we have,
On the mulch, just real quick, do we want to look at the darker mulch? I know you said you liked the darker quite a bit better than what they've been putting in. Or like the one
I
year
just heard
guaranteed
on
mulch
the radio, it's a 1 year,
guaranteed.
guaranteed color stay mulch.
You looking to go darker?
I think darker looks better.
that
I mean,
fine?
this is all so, like, just,
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no,
It's
I
really
think,
blah
I
right
think
now.
the darker is way
It's
better.
a
as soon as the
pine
rain's coming, then we take the rain.
well, it's already blah.
Yeah.
We did it in October, you know.
Might be worth looking into what they're actually going to put in.
What kind
also.
of mulch? Is it pine bark, or are you talking about pine, dark?
It's something by Lowe's or Home Depot, and it's guaranteed for a year to just keep its color.
Mhm.
Now, can we hold off on that until we redo the mulch?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
looking into that's probably gonna change the cost of this proposal.
okay.
But
Well, that's just
Eric
for the
bring-
front.
Yeah, Eric brings up a point that we wanna go darker color.
I think it looks
I think it looks
better.
Oh, yeah.
It brings out the
Yeah.
plants, yeah, it
Yes,
does.
it does.
Okay, can you take that back to him, that we'd like to see a dark, you want a dark brown or?
Yeah.
I think that's what looks
Anything
best.
Is it
darker,
like
yeah.
pine bark, is that what you guys are looking at, like this?
Either the
pine-
There's very
orangey,
burnt orange, or
yeah.
there's a,
Orange?
or a dark brown that both look really good. A couple different people have them. They've replaced it themselves, I think, and it definitely looks better than what we've got out here.
Didn't Roberto just?
Roberto's
replace
got
it?
his, and there's another one over on this side that definitely looks good.
Okay, so, sounds like it's a dark,
Dark
it's a
brown.
dark
Just give
brown.
us some options when we come
Darker and
back
something,
next time.
there's a 1 year guarantee out there on some mulches.
Okay, I'll have to check that
Yeah,
out.
we wanna make sure that we check that out when we do the mulch
Three
in
for
October.
$10, $3 for $10 right
You
now.
just
Either
want
Lowe's
to-
or Home Depot.
I don't know. Can I ask a question?
No, we're gonna approve, it's approved.
Okay, but you
We're
guys,
not, we're not gonna go for
That's
the,
approved.
we're not gonna go for the special mulch here. All we want to do is, all we want is color,
yeah,
okay?
This is just
We wanna-
what they
yeah.
are paying for right
We-
now.
we wanna
We're not
do-
gonna remulch until October anyway, so that's just a future thing.
so you're okay with this one, right?
Yeah.
We're okay, the way it is, just the color. We want it dark, we want it brown or,
Later in the year, this is fine.
But this one is
whatever.
fine,
Yeah.
this one if you're just to go ahead with as it is. Are you okay with it, or you want to have a dark brown?
If it's a quick change, then fine.
Yeah,
If not,
that'd be
let's
good.
roll with
Yeah.
what they've got. I mean,
I think we can just say, hey, we want to have $660 of the darker mulch,
Right.
which is,
it's
it
enough,
sounds like,
it's enough on there that it's worth looking at, since
Yeah,
it's a third of the cost.
it sounds like.
I just had a question. I heard you say somebody over here and somebody over here had mulch. Are the homeowners allowed to put their own mulch color?
yes?
If you want to, yeah.
Okay, good.
As long as it's not purple.
No, I like the chocolate brown. The chocolate brown is really nice.
Canary yellow would be nice.
No.
You can put any color mulch that you want over what the landscaper put.
You guys, it's old color, yellowish color, is what it was, what the color is it?
There's tan. There's tan and tan.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the pine bark, it's like a cheap, not brown.
It's already gone.
Any other comments?
Okay.
Do we have anybody here from the social committee?
I don't think there is a social committee anymore.
They reactivated themselves.
Oh, they did? Well, I was once upon a time on the social committee, but, I attended one supposed meeting and the person didn't show up, so I said, forget it. I don't know.
They have in fact set up dates and they have set up activities. Unfortunately, I didn't print the email off to report back to you guys. I thought we'd have somebody here.
Oh, okay, no,
I will print it off and bring it to the next meeting in case they aren't here.
Are they gonna post their activities?
They were thinking about, like a,
Potluck in October when. all
when
the
everyone
snowbirds are
gets
coming
back, like a snowbirds return potluck
Mhm.
here, and then, maybe something for New Year's Eve, or
Well, that's
the,
cool.
the Super Bowl, things like that.
I
So
know
they
that
were supposed
They were
to-
supposed to do the Super Bowl thing, but
Yeah.
like I said, I came for a meeting one day and there was me and
I heard
like
that.
another person, I don't know.
Yeah, April 20th was when they'd sent the email out, and proposed dates, April 19th for a meet and greet social hour, October 26th for a trick or treat and community parade, November 16th for a community harvest potlucks, and then something for New Year's
That's
Eve.
good.
Do you have a newsletter besides the website? I mean, do you put out like a newsletter or something very simple?
The board doesn't have anything. Would you be interested in doing it for us?
See what you opened up, see what.
I could try, I mean, to put something very simple together, you know. I just-
Like a one pager?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
just-
post it out here in the display cases maybe, so people know what's going on.
Maybe we could get a bin or something that we could have them so people go in the pool could pick them up and take them home with them.
Yeah,
That'd be a good idea.
just, like a social, if you're gonna have a social gathering, you put it in your, not like a
Like
weekly newsletter.
upcoming activities.
Yeah, just something
Yeah.
really simple, you have your activities in it, you have your satellite reminders, or you always have the board, the website, information.
Just so you know what's going on, a lot
Joan,
of
do
people
you
don't know
have,
each
do you have
other.
the
That's
names
true.
of people on the social committees? Could you give them to
Just
her?
through the email that we got.
Hang on, let me pull it back up.
I typed in fancy.
Can we get her the names so that she can coordinate with them to
It
get
just
input from them?
it just has the first names.
Like a one
Yeah,
page
Bonnie,
newsletter.
Joanne, and Vicky.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. There's a email address of sansimeonsocial@gmail.com.
That'll get you to them.
Gotta love smartphones.
They are. Thank you. Anything else?
You're in Cherrybrook?
Do we have anybody from the finding committee?
That's what I said, wait a minute, I'm gonna do the wrong thing.
Anything to report? No reports. Okay, thank you. Parking committee?
There you go. Hi.
Hi.
Parking committee met, and we are discussing some proposals now, going through some things, and once we get one that we all feel is good, we're gonna submit it and see if we can get it passed. But we got a lot of good ideas and we're headed in the right direction.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments on parking?
The sideways parking, you know they have to be running over sprinklers to get that way. What did you guys think of a proposal on that? Or have you?
Sideways parking. At
Well,
the
if
end
you
of
got
driveway?
two cars here and you got one car here, he had to drive.
No, and
over.
park sideways, not hit a single thing.
Well,
Not a,
maybe
si-
that's
not a
not
single,
everyone, but-
not a single sprinkler head, nothing, it's just a matter of going
Never
out.
mind.
There's people who pull in their driveways straightways and still hit the sprinkler.
And run over the grass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and park on the grass.
Any other comments? Moving on to old business, we had a motion on the floor to modify the pool hours. I would propose that we leave that motion on the floor and discuss it later. It's not something that's pressing, and that we're into summer and we've got lots of time to use the pool, so let's table that and bring it up the next meeting, so if everybody's in agreement. Joan, do you have anything on the bulk garbage thing?
Yes, I do. I called the town, and in order to have it done, we need board approval of what the cost will be, and they charge us by yard. And the reason why we didn't have it immediately is because I needed somebody to be there kind of to oversee, because they need to put the garbage, the bulk garbage, in front of the recycling bin, but not in front of the regular bin, so they have access to it. So we would need to rope it off and have signs and have somebody kind of monitor it. And I had asked James if,
Yeah, but if
Richard
it
can
is
do it.
like he cannot be here all day,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
I could do it was just gonna be planned for when I was on my cruise.
yeah,
If-
and that's why you could do it, and I couldn't
And
do
I
it 'cause
have
I'm working,
stuff
but I have to do it on the
But
summer.
if it's on a Saturday or something.
It has to be on the regular day our pickup is picked up, which is
Recycle or
No.
regular?
Thursday. It has to- So I have to call them for Wednesday.
So is it just one day?
Just one day.
And what day does
It's
the
not a
garbage
special
get?
pickup, they're gonna send an additional truck for our regularly scheduled pickup.
And by yard, means-
The weight.
I'd be ours.
They're charging us for it,
How do you
can't
know
we
what-
take it then?
how do you know
She
what your
said no.
garbage is?
We don't until we, and that's why
I
they,
have heavy stuff.
they need an approved board member to sign off saying we're approving whatever costs we're going to accept.
Well, I think that's
Wait, is that the city? Is that just through Fort Myers
Yeah.
City? Can't we call like Waste Management directly or somebody that?
Is there an independent group that
That can maybe
can
do
grab?
That, I don't know, I called the
Probably
people who
costs us
do
more.
our garbage.
You know, I know waste management companies, they'll just come and they'll drop off a container and let you fill it and schedule a day to come back and pick it up. We do it all the time for
Yeah,
construction
just like for
projects. and-
construction, right?
Yeah.
Well, then that's
But the
something that we
expense
want
is
that.
probably more though.
Well, I know, we
worth
did
looking into.
renovations in my house and we had a big old
Yeah,
dumpster. and we did-
and 2 doors down from me too, they have the
It was
dumpster
just
sitting
a
in the
single
driveway.
cost. Check with Waste Management.
I could do that,
Yes,
but I
No,
do know
the only
usually by weight
concern
too,
I have,
'cause I
guys, is-
have.
They're all by weight.
You guys, the concern I have is we don't have many
Mine was
residents
by
here right
bin.
now. And if we're gonna pay $300 or $200 to Waste Management, are we gonna get our money's worth? Whereas if we go with the city and they're only gonna charge us on the basis of what we put in it, we may be better off with the city.
Is it better to also do it in the, when people are back or right only when everyone?
Now, if we do it with the city and we only get charged for what we put in it, who cares?
I think it'd be good to
But I
do
mean,
twice a year. I mean, now and maybe.
So am I.
like
I don't know what they're
January.
talking
You're
about.
talking about recycling. What are y'all talking about?
What we're talking.
I have a big old radio speaker. I have 2 big old speakers, you know, and my whole setup for a radio
Mattress.
system.
We were talking about last time.
It's big stuff.
So
Clean
for
stuff out.
Big stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, oh,
So,
okay.
since we're not allowed to
Appliances.
have garage sales or anything like that, I asked, you know, how do I dispose
Furniture.
of like a grill that I'm not
Oh,
using?
okay.
So we thought about maybe getting a, you know, one day where everybody can just put their stuff together and have the city come and pick it up. So, I guess we're trying to move forward with that, because they really need to.
Community
People-
responsibility.
People throwing out
Uh,
the.
it-
It's
What
better
we're trying,
than
what we're
putting
trying
out
to do is
a-
avoid the situations where people throw it into the building
Yeah,
and
yeah.
walk away.
Walk away.
And it's left to us who go down there to pick it up and throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Or like I've seen big TVs too. In the past too, we've had somebody who tried to dispose of a mattress by putting it on fire and ended up catching our building on fire.
Get
So
out.
we had to get that repaired. I don't know if any of you remember that.
Here?
Yeah, when we had hurricanes, our GRS, there was a fire, as soon as you opened the
Thank
door,
God I
like,
wasn't
why is
there.
there a fire? And they, the whole roof of the container, the garage was burnt.
We wanna move forward with this? I
Because they were
sense
pulling
that
over
we do.
mattresses, so they
Yeah.
couldn't fit up.
And
I
where-
can't-
where are-
can't do
where
it
are we on?
Thursday. I can't do it Thursday if it's,
Well, I can once I'm out of school, and once I'm done with my training.
well, that's
So it'd be
okay.
like
Yeah,
when June
during
till then.
summer.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's a suggestion. I mean, if there's gonna be something, you know, maybe done on a newsletter or, you know, maybe posted on the website, the city does allow, we pay for large item pickup to the city as part of our taxes. All you have to do is call the city and say, hey, I have a television, you know, a 25-inch tube TV that I need to dispose of and I can't get rid of it. They will tell you what day to have it sitting next to your driveway and they will send someone to pick it up and it will only, you put it out, the morning that they're gonna pick it up, they will pick it up before noon, and it's no additional cost.
But
That's
see,
when,
when I
that's when
called
you
them,
have
they said,
one or
because we're a
two.
gated community and we have the dumpster
I've arranged pickup
here.
twice here.
Yeah, and so have I.
I've had no problem.
Confirm and everyone can know.
The only
Yeah, they
thing,
don't do it.
the only thing that, might be an issue is if they're sending a driver who doesn't normally come in here to pick up, but they should still be able to get the gate code to whoever does come in to do that pickup. Because it's usually, I think it was on a Thursday when they did that, if I remember correctly, it was like a Wednesday or Thursday. Because they told me what day to have it out.
Okay, well, that's a reasonable solution.
Well, that'd be better.
I mean,
Yeah.
and the thing is, that would, especially outside of season, when there's not as many people, that would save, if, it's the homeowner's responsibility, or whoever's, in the unit, they know what they're getting rid of. They should be able to call the city and, hey, I need you to pick this up for me. It's not, especially if it's large items, electronics, mattresses, entertainment centers.
It's good to know that, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's good, and that would be something really
Yeah,
informative
we'll
to
look
put in the
into that.
newsletter too, because I don't know if everybody knows that.
Right.
I would have never thought of that.
Any other comments, questions?
Then whatever I'll find, if they do allow the individual, we can post on the website.
Can we put in the newsletter?
Oh, yeah. You got a lot in the newsletter.
You know, the 2 page.
No, 1 page.
Front and back.
You know what, I need your name for the newsletter for control.
Sherry.
Sherry, I'm not gonna tell you my last name.
Campanella.
Sherry, you say slowly.
Yeah.
Moving on to new business, one of the things that came up when we were looking at the light issue for the pool was that there are, 2 lights, James, that are not working?
There are 3
lights?
lights, 3 lights that's not working. So, with the light replacement and you do have labor, everything is $322 that needs to be replaced.
Can we have a motion to replace those lights?
This is
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
This is just the
Motion
inside of the pool, we just have to repair it.
I just have a question about it though,
Yeah,
but
go
I guess there's no comment.
Go ahead.
Speaking of lights, pool lights you're talking about?
Inside.
Inside the pool.
Inside the pool.
Okay. I noticed they replaced the spotlights for the coconuts around the pool.
That's
Those are not,
outside the pool.
those are not working yet?
We're
but I-
talking about the lights inside.
I know, but I mean, what about those lights out there? They replaced the spotlights with smaller ones, but I never seen them on yet.
We just made it to check out the
Did you
timer.
make the motion?
It was working.
Eric, please. What was your question, Jim?
My question is, do we want to do this before we do that full survey, if we're gonna go to the next one?
Oh,
What if
we
they
tabled
change
that.
it?
For now.
What?
We tabled that.
I know we did, but we're gonna spend $300, and then what if they say, well, you have to move it here, here, and here, and then we just wasted $300?
Because this
Well,
one
they
actually,
don't, they don't actually move lights, they make it more bright. It's the candle power for nighttime usage, but.
It's gonna
I
come
mean,
down.
this
we aren't-
probably
we
comes
aren't gonna
under mandatory, this is probably mandatory. I mean, if there are light bulbs out, they were put there for a reason. If they're out, they need to be
And
replaced.
my concern is if we don't replace them, we may get to a point where we can't ever get them out because they get corroded in.
yeah.
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 It's just a regular
And
maintenance.
this is regular maintenance. It's something we usually don't even have to bring before the board. I just wanted to do it
Yeah,
And that's a
because of the
question.
issues over
Yeah,
the pool.
anything under
Okay.
$1,000
Yeah,
is
even I can-
usually
yeah.
not a board vote.
I cannot even, because it's just regular maintenance issue. I just wanted to make sure you guys are okay with it.
We initiated a reserve study earlier last month. The reserve study was done. Eric's going to get into that in a little bit. Not yet, Eric. But as a result of the reserve study, we also got into the question of insurance values for the various buildings. And we need them, if we're ever gonna do the Horton buildings and bring them into the community as part of the, having insurance under the community and having reserves under the community, we need these values for their buildings. At the same time, we found, and Eric's gonna cover it a little bit, we found that there were some issues that we didn't have values for on the common areas. And we also wanted to take an opportunity to relook at the insurance values on the Levitt buildings. We've got two proposals to do this. We've got one from Prestar, which is the company that did the estimates originally for the Levitt buildings. And the other one is from GAB, what's their last name?
Robbie.
GAB Robin. There's a difference in the proposals of, what are the numbers? Prestar is going to be 2455 to do it, and GAB Robinson is going to be 4400 to do it.
Did we already pay GAB Robbins to do a full assessment?
We paid them for the reserve study. This is different from the reserve study. This is giving us values on the buildings. It's for replacement. If we have a hurricane,
I thought that included.
no, the reserve study is for replacement of roofs, swimming pool,
House maintenance, pavement.
pavement, all this stuff over time,
Okay.
over the life of that asset. This is for insurance that we're gonna be buying against hurricanes. So we need to know what the values are of the properties we're insuring. The last time we did it for the Levitt buildings was what, 3 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna try and update that, and we're gonna get the values for the common areas again updated, and then we'll get the values for Horton. The issue is, which of these companies do we want to use? Do we want to use Prestar or GAB Robinson? Does anybody have any opinions? Here's what we're talking about.
And this is so that we then take their replacement values and bring it to the insurance company to get an updated quote.
That's correct.
Increase the value of the insured amount of the building for replacement.
Just update the value.
Increase or decrease, but I don't think it's going to be that.
Insurance
Please don't say
Haven't
that.
ever seen it.
insurance companies are going to do their own, as far as the, well, what do I say is, they're going to do their own
Okay,
thing.
if
I
they're gonna
mean,
look at what we have and see whether they agree with it, yes.
yeah, but we can use that as a guideline, but still, they're going to do their own appraisals.
Well, Prestar,
Why do you need these if we go with, let's say we go and offer 3 different insurance companies saying we want insurance? Why would we pay these to do a pre-insurance
Because they're
insurance?
gonna tell us what the value is
Yeah.
that we want to insure it for. We don't know what that value is.
Wouldn't the insurance company do that?
No.
you
have to
just
give
like
the
when you insure your house, for example, you have to give them, you have to do appraisal of your house. And the appraisal price is separate. It's got nothing to do
And I don't
with
pay for the appraisal.
Here in the condominium,
Your
this is a
commercial-
different,
your commercial
commercial
rate.
and the residential is a little bit different,
Traditional.
but you have to pay for your appraisal of the building.
So the Prestar price is so much significantly lower because they've done the Levitt in the past.
That's
Yes,
correct.
they have done it before.
They're giving you $1,000 credit, basically, because they've done it in the past.
Why wouldn't we, I mean, since Gab Robinson did the reserve study, why don't we finagle with them to say,
Yeah, is there
listen,
any
I
economies
mean,
of
they
scale?
did our reserve
Well,
study.
we tried it.
You
I mean,
tried?
we thought they're gonna be cheaper, but apparently they have to do all, the reserve study and the appraisal is 2 different animals, 2 different departments. So they cannot really give us a discount on this. Prestar already did it,
Mhm,
for the Levitt building, and you can save $2,000 already.
mhm.
Honestly, I don't think you don't have a whole lot of problems going to the Prestars anyways.
I just don't understand why we have to do this, because when I worked in insurance in New York, we measured the buildings, we did the square footage, there was a formula we used, and that's how in insurance we knew what the replacement value was, even for a home. So I don't understand understand, like Elizabeth said before, why we have to,
We already did that with
You
gas.
have to provide the insurance company
That's
with the value
What
of
you did with the
the
gas
bill,
is
the
a reserve
replacement
study.
value.
It's a two different things. The reserve study is how much you're gonna put it into the reserve every year.
And as an example,
It's not
Elizabeth,
insurance.
the reserve study for the 11
For
buildings, let's
maintenance.
take them as an example.
Right.
They gave us a number for the roofs. They gave us a number for painting. They gave us a number for sidewalks and driveways,
Right.
and that's it.
Air
They,
conditioners.
no.
That's your own.
And that's maintenance over
No,
time.
the air conditioner's yours.
No, all the stuff, the common air conditioners.
Oh, the common air
Common
conditioner,
area,
I
yeah.
understand that, I understand that.
But they didn't say that the Levitt building is worth X number of dollars. They said the roof is worth X number of dollars. They said the sidewalks and pavement are worth Y number of dollars. And the painting was gonna cost you this, but that's not the value of the building.
When commercial insurance, the first thing they're asking for is pretty much, well, the two things that they ask for is number one is your appraisal of the building. Okay. And the number two is they're asking if you have a wind mitigation. Those are the two things they're asking for. If you get a, if your roof is new, then you may get some discounts through the wind mitigation report. So that is a part of the things you have to give to them. Otherwise, they cannot really insure your building without knowing the value of your building. Once you give it to them, and they also have sent out their appraisal to just make sure to check out if there's anything that they have concern, such as, hey, your trees are too close to the roof. Those are some of the things that they just trying to figure that out, but you still have to do your own appraisal. And you have already done that for Levitt and the common area in 2011.
And that's on top of all the appraisals that all the Horton units just had to get insurance
Yes,
and mortgages.
yeah.
They're all independent, so.
Right now, you guys have
It's
your
on
own
the
insurance.
county website though, right? There's nothing we can do.
It's an appraised value. My appraised value so far, what I paid for the unit, I wouldn't want to use those.
Yeah, that's the tax appraisal. That's got nothing, that's insurance appraisal value.
see, we
My appraised
would
value is
plug
probably
in-
2/3 what I
I
paid
work
for
with
the unit.
Allstate, we would plug in the square footage of the building, what it was made of,
Can we see what the insurance
that.
companies are gonna require from us before we make a decision on?
Oh, yeah.
Before
they-
That is what
They've
they
already sent it to me.
Yeah, I work with them
He works
all.
with them every year.
Every year I work with every condominiums, and the first thing they're asking for is, do you have the appraisal and do you have,
now I know, Levitt has wind mitigation report, do your Horton units have wind mitigation?
no, you may want it to do a wind mitigation report when the time is.
Because that makes the insurance cheaper.
Yeah. So right now, first thing you gotta do is just appraisal value first in order for them to come back with a, insurance value.
Well, I'll pass a motion if Freestar did us previously and they're less expensive.
$2,000 cheap.
I pass a motion that we go with them for the insurance appraisals.
Is there a second?
An opinion either way? I mean, just before we second it, do you have an opinion on which one you'd rather go with?
I would rather go with GAB Rodman, that's a personal opinion.
And that's just because they did the reserve
They
study?
did
or-
they did the reserve study, and I think they've got more up-to-date information than Prestar does. Prestar is probably gonna do this, but sitting in their office. Whereas GAB Robbins has been out here, they have looked at every piece of equipment that we have.
Where is Freestar located?
They're at, I think they're.
Is it St.
St.
Petersburg?
They do all, they do
Yeah,
all
they're
for
on Lake
you.
Mary.
Don't they have a
whatever.
Fort Myers location to Freestar?
No, I think their office
That was
is in
GAB?
St. Pete, yeah. No, even GAB, they
GAB
don't,
doesn't have
they
one
don't have an
either.
office either.
They're
But they
East
do
Coast
have,
firm.
I thought one had a,
yeah, they already have a pictures, that where they took,
but that was the
Then I'll withdraw my motion.
No, it's fine.
No, I'm not gonna argue.
my question is,
well,
I know we're doing this so we can put everything as one. So, that means Horton's gonna be hit with a big bill from what they've been paying previously. Because now the insurance, and they have to catch up with the reserves, which, I mean, isn't many years, but and now we have to get a wind mitigation. It seems like we're getting a lot of added costs now to put everything together.
Part of putting it all together, it's gonna cost us money.
And was
Doesn't
that
come-
something
doesn't
we
come-
made a
doesn't
motion
come-
to
doesn't
put it
come
all
for free.
together? I mean,
We haven't done that yet.
so we keep spending money, but we haven't even decided if we want to do it.
We have to change the bylaws to
Those
do it.
reserves aren't ours, those reserves of the
So
other.
we
But you
have,
said catch up with reserves, how much?
how much
new
is it gonna cost
DR
to
Horton,
DR
how much are we
Horton?
gonna be hit with?
A
We
lot.
don't know yet.
A
That's,
lot.
we're gonna talk about the reserve study in a
That's
minute, and it'll give you some
Well,
idea
that's
of what we're
DR
talking
Horton's.
about.
They should have
But
done that
hey,
to begin with. I'm sorry.
There's nothing that can be done to change Horton unless there is a motion to change the bylaws, okay? There will have to be an annual meeting, and there will have to be a formal proposal made, and it will have to be approved by at least 20% of the people that are there.
So it goes to a vote to the community.
It goes to a vote of the community,
Okay.
okay? So don't get too concerned about it now, because, you know, it's a process that's gonna take a while to get to where we can even make a proposal where we have realistic numbers that we can share with you. Right now, we have a lot of information, but we don't have anything finalized yet.
But my thing is like with the wind mitigation, as Levitt Sons, we've already paid for that. So we have to get a wind mitigation for the Horton units in order to get a quote for insurance. Just the Horton units will be assessed for that? Or is that gonna be a common fee for everybody? That's, we're getting into a gray area now that we need to look into.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't we just forget all of this, get one maintenance rate and get on with our lives? You know, this is, you know,
We still have to
we've
be
got
insured.
DR Horton owners that started out 4 years ago that's been paying, you know, and then we got DR Hortoners that are just recent ones. And are you going to sit there and separate those two and try and say, you know, that's crazy. What we need to do is just say, hey, look, let's start new and let's get it done.
I don't think anybody said anything about whether it's gonna be one fee or whether it's gonna be divided or whatever.
If you don't have one maintenance fee, you're going to have two associations with a master association. You don't want that in this community, I guarantee
Well, we
you.
have two
Can we-
different
Whoa,
sides.
whoa. Can we get back to what we're discussing? We're discussing whether we're going to do
With the
an
insurance
insurance appraisal update.
I hear you that J.B. Robbins was just out here, but for $2,000, I'm not sure that it's worth the extra $2,000, and that's just my personal opinion.
Elizabeth had a motion. Does anybody want a second?
I thought you withdrew it.
You
I
wanna-
read through it just based on our discussion, so if anyone wants to read up that, it's fine.
We really need a motion to discuss it anyway, really, technically. but Somebody needs to make a motion one way or the other.
Motion to discuss it, is that what we're?
No, motion to accept one over the other.
Alright, I'll make the motion. To go with Freestar as mine.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we need to sign something tonight?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch
Uh,
of things.
Let's move on to the reserve study. We talked a little bit about it. Basically, we had G.A.D. Robinson come out and look at the whole community and do assessments on what the roofs were worth, what the painting costs were gonna be, what replacement costs were gonna be for doing roads, et cetera, et cetera. This is a non-binding study. We are not required to do anything as a result of it. We have input, and I've asked Eric to sort of take charge of this for us. He's gonna be trying to put together a group of people to review it, to see what we wanna do with it, and to report back to the board on what that group's recommendation is. So with those preamble comments, I'll turn it over to Eric.
I'm gonna pass out a quick handout so that everyone can follow along with what we're gonna be reviewing. It's a quick overview of what the actual costs were that came back in the reserve study. It's G.A.B. Robbins who did it. I think they did a pretty thorough job. They came back with roughly 160 pages in total reserve study. They did break it down significantly for us based on a number of line items. Like Don said, I'd actually like to put together a group that can sit down with me, review the study, accept the recommendations. If we want to make changes, we do have the ability to have them make one change to what they originally proposed. They did give us two different ways to look at the study. One was component funding, which is basically the straight line method. Basically, you take the unfunded balance of whatever the property is that you're looking at divided by the useful life. The second is basically a cash flow model or a pooling method, where basically your contributions to the reserve are designed to offset the expenditures for the given year. It's one of the things that we're going to have to look at when deciding which route we want to go to actually fund it. You do see that there are a couple expenditures within the common that are new that were not previously in. We never had a reserve study before, so the old that you're noticing on here is actually what the original builder had laid out. You'll notice that there's nothing for the Horton units since we did not have a reserve study prior to this actually going out. Some of the new items, you've got $145,000 in the common area. For clubhouse interiors, they do break that down into about 10 different accounts. You'll notice site improvements would include things like updating the front gate, things like 10 years from now, maybe moving to a transponder system or things along those lines. So a lot of these useful lives are 20 plus years, but it is the things that we need to start considering now, especially knowing that we have not collected any reserves for Horton. So if anyone would like to volunteer to sit down and go through the reserve study with me, I'd definitely appreciate some volunteers. Not everyone jumping up at once.
Now, one of the things we need to think about on this reserve study, the reason we've done it is that we don't want to get into a situation where we have something happen and we have big assessments. Okay? The reserve study allows us to accumulate money over time so that we can replace things when they break. If we don't do that, it comes down to where at the time something breaks, like the roofs on the Horton buildings, we would have to assess each of the owners for the repair or the replacement. So what we're trying to do is spread the cost of these things over time so we keep the costs down. You're going to pay the same amount of money. You're just going to pay it in lifetime installments.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
We're new here, so I'm trying to, HOA fees, if I understand correctly, we pay a monthly HOA fee for maintenance and general upkeep, correct?
Maintenance of what?
Like the lawn, I live in Fordham,
Right.
division, but I live that side of the tracks. So I don't understand what a reserve, when we keep saying reserve, doesn't our HOA fee kind of set aside money for in case there has to be some sort of repair?
If you read the bylaws on Horton units, there is nothing being accumulated based on the bylaws for replacement of roofs, for painting of the buildings, for replacing driveways or sidewalks, or what's the other item that we do have on there?
Any exterior.
Anything.
Now, for the Levitt buildings, there is a reserve fee or reserve assessment that they pay every month that is it's to accumulate money for roof replacement, for painting of the buildings. There is nothing for the Levitt buildings either for doing driveways or sidewalks, so that would be totally new. But unfortunately, we Horton people came into the community at a point in time when I think the developer was trying to sell the units in a down market. And he chose to exclude those items from the assessments to get to make it attractive for people to come in here so we could sell the units. Now, it's left us, right now, we're in good shape. But 5 years from now, when we've got to paint the buildings, the only option we've got is to assess everybody or start now and collect reserve funds. You know, those are our two options. The concern I've got is if we don't start collecting the reserves now, we may have, there are a bunch of young people that are in the Horton buildings.
Thank you.
I'm not sure a number of them are gonna have the funds to handle a big
An
assessment,
assessment, absolutely.
you know, all at one time, to redo roofs or to do paint or do driveways. I think I think our best alternative is to do this over time and keep it as low as we can. Eric?
And just for an example, you're painting here, so you got $70,000 if we went ahead and did the painting. If it was a one-time assessment, you're talking $800 that people are gonna have to come out of pocket for a special assessment versus them paying $10 or $11 a month over the course of 60 months to go ahead and get to the same exact rate. So all we're trying to do now is build up some funds so that you don't have that one-time special assessment, and then we run into a similar situation as we're in now with people not paying. So what happens when the painting needs to be done anyway and you charge a one-time special assessment of $800 to someone who doesn't have the money at the time, then you're trying to collect it back. So this is trying to avoid future headaches more than anything else.
And, you know, backing up for a second, we face the same thing with insurance. You know, right now, as a Horton owner, I don't know whether my neighbor's got insurance or not.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
And we have a hurricane come through here, and four out of the 6 people in my building have insurance, the other 2 don't. I can't get the building redone. You know, it's not a good situation for us to be in from the perspective of the liability that we might face if people don't have insurance. So, you know, these are the things we're faced with. It's gonna end up raising the assessments, but I think it's raising it from a legitimate standpoint.
So at some point, when you're doing all the research and gathering and continuing to gather this information, could the board present well, especially the Horton people, what does this mean to their current homeowner association fees? So are we looking at a possible $50 increase, $200 increase? I don't know, I'm not good with math.
We could give you numbers right now off the top of our head, but they'd scare you to death.
Right.
The thing we want to do is we want to get input from the community. This is what Eric's trying to do, is put together a group to give us input. There are some things that we may not want to accumulate in reserves. There are other things that we may want to push out as expenses and expense them and only collect for the cost of them over a year rather than doing it over 5 years. But we need people to get involved in this and sit down and logically go through all this information we've got and, you know, give Eric some help on what we ought to be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. We don't want to do it by ourselves. It's not fair to the people that are going to have to pay down the road. We've got to get everybody involved. The more people we get involved, the better off we're going to be.
From the accounting point of view, I agree with Joe. I'd rather have just one fee, straightforward, easy to deal with. However, you're always getting into, if you have 2 fees, you're always getting into like, okay, who's responsible for what? You know, why do I have to pay for someone else's fee? Why do I have to pay for someone else's maintenance fee? You're always getting into that kind of situation. But
this group will decide what we're going to do with fees, whether we're going to combine them or keep them separate. And that's something we've got to look at down the road.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on this? Have we got any volunteers?
Oh, yeah, why not? I might as well volunteer for something else.
Yeah.
I volunteer.
I work with anybody too also, but still.
Cindy Kiriakou, Kyriacou.
And as you're talking to your neighbors, let them know that we're looking for help. If you know of anybody who's interested, have them get a hold of James and let us know, because we'd like to be able to do some stuff between now and the next meeting, which will probably be the last week in June. so we can come back with some information, with more information than we've got today.
How many homes are in this community?
219.
Okay, you have a lot of winter people that
Yes.
are not here.
Mhm.
All right.
Alright,
But
third.
there are a lot of people that live here all year round. All right. A lot of people that live here all year round are not here today. Maybe we should notify them, okay, that their HOAs might go up. And I guarantee you, this place will be packed.
Well,
I'm
there's a sign
serious.
outside, so if they choose not to come, then, you
Well, I
know, there's a
think
big
the-
old sign in the front that
The
says, you
meetings
know.
during the winter were very well
Yeah,
in the winter.
attended, so
Right.
I think they
In the winter.
understand that, yeah.
We'll try to start, all the process right now, trying to gather some more information at this point. So, when the time comes, I'm sure this is something we are trying to do, I guess, next, I don't know, next year or later year.
Yeah, definitely.
My goal with the committee is to take a look at the actual first reserve study, come back with some recommendations, and then we can talk about them as a group. Something as simple as the gates out front that are $30,000 to replace. Do you need both the gate and the swing gate, or can you get away with just the swing gate?
Yeah.
Things like that, are gonna tack on an extra $10 a month. Those are some of the things that we need to decide, whether it's a need to have or a nice to have. So those are some of the things that I'm gonna be looking for input for.
Was
So
this an actuary group that did this?
GA Robbins.
Are they an actuary? A reserve actuary, or are they just,
This is what they do reserve studies. They're
but is it
reserve
an
studies.
actuarial
I
group, an
have no
actuary?
idea.
Just curious.
Anybody have any other comments? Moving on then. I'd like to talk a little bit about an annual meeting date. The bylaws require that we hold our annual meeting in the month in which the articles of incorporation were registered
October.
in the state of Florida, which is October. Okay? The annual meeting is normally for the election of officers and any other business that might come up. There was some discussion earlier that people would like to have it in January, but right now, without changing the bylaws, that's not possible, so it's gonna have to be in October. And it will probably be the last week in October, because at the same time, we would like to probably take care of the budget if we can do it,
Take care of the what, I'm sorry?
the budget.
Is that doable, budget, end of October?
Budget's doable anytime we want.
Anything is doable. We can surplus it in the middle of the
I
year.
think a lot of what the findings with the reserve study
Yeah,
are
that's
gonna
more,
help determine what goes into the budget.
because we probably have to do a two budget. One that includes all that changes and one that don't include that changes.
That being done, the annual meeting will be held in October this year. I would also propose that we formalize holding quarterly meetings in January, April, July, and October, and probably do it the fourth Tuesday of the month. Does anybody have any issues with that? These would be regularly scheduled meetings. There's nothing that would prohibit us from having a meeting in between if there are topics that need to be discussed. Or, as an example, we may not have the budget done in October. We may have to have another meeting in November or December to do the budget. So there's nothing by setting up these quarterly meetings that would preclude us from having another meeting in another month.
It can't be December because it has to be 30 days
Right,
notice.
right. Oh, we could postpone the beginning of the assessment too until the first of February if we need to.
You can have two different assessments.
Yeah. There's ways around it, but we'll see. I guess that's pretty much it. Does
So
anybody
you
have-
said January, April,
January, April, July, and October. It'll be done the fourth Tuesday of the month. And we'll post them on the website. And the annual meeting will probably be the last, it will definitely be in October, and it'll probably be the last week in October this year. Anybody have any comments, questions, input?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Along those same lines, I'm glad to see that you're trying to get a regularly scheduled meeting, because a lot of times, you know, if we just throw a sign out there a few days before, people already have other commitments. I think that's great. As far as the minutes of the meetings though, especially if we're gonna go on a quarterly basis, is it possible to post the minutes out there on the website for people to read, as long as you've got a disclosure that they are not yet approved?
I just don't feel comfortable, I personally don't feel comfortable doing it because people just change the minute until, even the day before. So we don't want it
Well, the
to,
thing is, especially now, if you're gonna wait till July and somebody's not gonna be able to access the July minutes, the January minutes until July, you're talking 6 months. And a lot of times, especially with people that are away from here, they would like to be able to keep up and know what's going on.
They can go on
It may not
YouTube.
be in stone.
They can go on YouTube and check them out.
it's up to you, but normal
You need to
practice
tell her
with
that.
other associations, they don't want to post
She
any
can go
draft,
check, she can go check
version
out
of those
online
documents unless
what
it's
happened at the
finally
meeting.
approved,
Well,
because they
yeah,
do
but-
change that minutes. I've seen them changing it a lot, they even change it during the meeting too, so
Right, but
we
I'm
don't.
saying,
You have
that's
to.
what you're saying, that they haven't been approved and are subject to change.
Does anybody have any comments on it, board members?
It's up to you.
Just a thought.
Maybe you can do something informal through the newsletter or something like that that does a quick summary
Yeah,
that is not official, but
What was
does put out
discussed?
some highlights.
Yes,
I know I've seen
I can see your
homeowners
point.
associations that actually send out a monthly email that give you the 5 quick snapshots of what happened, so we could probably work with the newsletter to come up with something that.
Because any changes we've made to the minutes have been minuscule, not like broad reaching or anything like that. I kinda agree. That they're not final and approved. But this was what was discussed at the meeting.
I agree with what Eric says, just have a newsletter, have some highlights, because especially those last minutes, they've been changed quite a bit.
Because people do read your minutes, and then they do use the minutes to, argue
It's kind of-
why.
Is that a legal
document.
thing?
It's an official document.
Yeah.
If it's a
It is
legal issue, no.
It's not, as Brendan said, it's not a legal issue, but minute is a minute, is because,
I'm feeling that there's a desire by the members of the board, though, to get something informal out to people so that we don't have,
That's what
we
was
don't have a
discussed.
we don't have a 3-month gap in terms of information. And we'll have to work on something to get something for people so that they have information without it being official. Is that the consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
Even, I think too, even if it was just taking the agenda and putting, motion made or whatever, just something that highlights it, but not the detail that I included.
So, motion to adjourn? Second?
I second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
You'll be busy.
About that.
Can you sign?
Oh, of course, yeah, because I get paid so much to do this.
My newsletter person.
I like,
I'm gonna be gone by 5 weeks.
Yeah, we've got
So don't plan on me signing anything.
work.
You better work something out with these
They've got
guys.
the breakdown.
Sign this now.
They actually did do a pretty good job.